second of our bite-sized interviews, looking at your spiritual discovery series of webinars. Before we start talking about the next one, which I find fascinating already, I would like to do a little recap on the first, if you don't mind.
Absolutely, go ahead.
It was about people connecting to the spirit world in their own way. And I was fortunate in so much as I attended the webinar and was moved to tears. There was a message that you gave to a lady from her sister who'd passed away. Do you want to tell us about that?
Well, the question was more about how could she connect. This lady came on, as many did, wanting to know how can we connect without using a medium, without using somebody like me. How can we connect with the spirit world? Are there things that we can do? And so I began by explaining to her what she personally could do. And of course, I have my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, who's helping me with this. And so we were telling her that what she needs more than anything is she needs to use water and just the energy of water. So I suggested that she either sat by a river or maybe on a beach or something like that. And this is how she could create the energy within her. And we all of us have this energy, but we can have different tools and different experiences. And so I was explaining to her how she could use this energy of water. And before I know it, I was talking to her. And then I saw this lovely lady who told me how she died and so on and so forth, and connected. And it happened that it was this lady's sister. And the person you heard, she was, I can't remember her name now, but she was so moved by the whole thing, because she does every day go for at least 10 to 15 minutes and sits by the river that's close by her. She does use water. So everything that I said to her made such sense. And she always felt that perhaps her sister was with her, but she just wanted that confirmation. And when she had it, she could barely speak to us. I don't know if you can remember, she could barely speak to us. She was so emotional, but it was such, to me, it was such a beautiful experience for her. There were other people who also received messages. I mean, when you sit with me, you know, you spend some time with me, it happens. It does happen that I give messages, can't help myself. It just pops out there, you know. But yes, it was a very, very moving experience for her. And I think for many of the others who attended the I want to call it a workshop, the webinar, but it is really a workshop in itself, isn't it? But yes, it was very moving for her.
I remember being incredibly moved by it, and the evidence you gave was extraordinary. And
yes.
And I think the lady clarified that it was an Algonquin prayer song that she did at the river. And
yes.
I remember I was so tearful. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I don't think many of us could speak very, very well for at least a few minutes, could we? I think we were all emotionally moved.
It was. Yeah. It's strange to have that experience through a webinar, because you don't really anticipate to have that kind of emotional reaction to something.
Well, you don't, but I do it all the time.
You do. I'm not surprised. In terms of your next in the series, I believe that it's about healing the self and removing walls, emotional walls yes. that contain us and cause us pain. Could you tell us what people will expect?
Yeah, well, I think that, you know, all of us have our walls up, don't we? So many in relationships, so many people have difficulty because one won't communicate with the other. There's mistrust born very often of things that happened to us when we were very young, the way we were treated or the way we experienced our childhood growing up. We all of us build those walls, and we tend to hide behind them. And it's quite understandable that we build walls. You know, I've had a few walls that I've had to knock down. And it's very understandable. But when somebody says something that's hurtful, especially when you're younger, it's very difficult. And it's like little drops of poison that, you know, they put into us, and we gather them to us. And as we gather those drops of poison, those awful things that happen to us, the walls start to build because we're trying to protect ourselves. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, what happens is, although we want to hide behind our walls and we don't want other people to see who we really are because that makes us vulnerable, um, we trap ourselves within the walls. So we're protected on the one hand, but we're trapped on the other. And very often we don't know how to communicate, or we don't know how to come from behind the wall. Very often it can destroy relationships. It's this inability to be able to dare to be yourself. And so with all of my classes, we always do what I call the bottom brick. We try to discover when it was. I'm so sorry. Hold on one second here.
Okay.
Cost is life. We try to discover when the wall was built. You know, what was that first brick, and then we haul out the first brick. And you know what happens when you haul out the first brick of a wall? The whole thing starts to come tumbling down, and
Excellent.
it is painful and it's difficult sometimes. But at the same time, it is such a healing process, and it teaches us how to communicate with each other, and it teaches us how we can sort of, if we're brave enough, we can become fully healed, and which means that, you know, we come out of that dark place and we come into the light.
It sounds very much like it's a safe space for people.
Oh yes,
And obviously they have you, and I'm assuming that you're giving them the tools to be able to live their authentic selves,
yes.
and to self-reflect, and to challenge some of those issues that people may have.
Well, I think continuing on with this series, what I'm going to be doing, the first one was a little bit different because it
Mm.
was, you know, it was the first one. But I think, you know, it's important that we give people tools. It's important that they go away from something like this with exercises that they can do, with knowledge of how to help themselves, how to heal themselves. It's important that people have those tools that they can use by themselves or with a group of friends or whatever it is, and that they have something to take away from this that is important to them. And I think it's also important for people to realize, look, we've all hidden behind that wall. We all know what it's like. We all know what it's like to feel vulnerable. But
Yes.
we all, I think, the more we hide behind the wall, the more we realize that we're missing out on who we want to be. We're missing out on communication. How many times, I know that you've had your walls and I know I've had my walls, and how many times has it been said to you, to me, and to anybody out there, you know, why don't you talk to me? Why don't you trust me? Why can't you just communicate? Well, why is because we're so often filled with those little tiny drops of poison that begin when we're children, which make us afraid, make us nervous, make us hide.
Absolutely. I think it sounds like it's going to be an incredible experience, and
I hope
I
so.
know everyone will be in safe hands with you. I have absolutely no doubt whatsoever. It was really interesting because I was watching you at one of your live feeds recently, and you said something which I found, it was on this subject of walls, and I found it incredibly poignant. And you said, when we bring down our walls and we are strong enough to allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we experience the beauty of life. And I just think that's one of the most beautiful things. And if that's what people are looking forward to on the webinar, it sounds wonderful.
Well, I'm hoping that that's what we achieve, and you know, I'm really hoping that these webinars, people can learn from them and heal themselves from them, because so many of us out there are damaged, and I certainly was very damaged. So
Yeah,
many, you know, I know that you've had your issues, and I know, you know, people who are very damaged and who
very.
can't come from behind that wall. And I'm going to show, hopefully, I'm going to show you all how to do that. I'm promise I'm going to be gentle. I'm going to be gentle with you, and I'm going to give you tools that will help you to become who you really want to be, to become your better self, to become your best self. It takes a little courage, but I promise you I'll hold your hand and I'll guide you all through it.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I shall certainly be signposting a few people I know to your webinar. Um, let me get this right. It's on the 21st of November,
It is.
10 till 2, and that's Eastern Standard Time.
Yes, 10 a.m. till 2. No, 10 a.m. till 12. 10
Oh,
a.m.
till
till
12,
12.
sorry.
2 hours, yeah. Don't have me working for 4 hours.
You
10,
know.
10, 10 a.m. till 12 Eastern Standard Time. And you can get tickets on Eventbrite. We shall put a link underneath this so you can, all you have to do is click on the link. Tickets will be $45. We try really hard to sort of, do the best we can so that everybody can, everybody can afford it. It's tough because we have so many expenses that we have to consider, but I don't think, I think that a lot of people will be able to afford that. And if you want to know any more about it, everybody out there listening, email me rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com, or you can go to the website rosemaryaltea.com. It's all one word, rosemaryaltea.com, and you can subscribe there and find out more about us.
Well, I hope to be joining you myself. What I would say is one final question before I let you go. Hopefully the storm isn't too bad in Florida at the moment.
No, actually, look, the lights are.
They're on.
Yeah.
Is any future books being published?
Oh golly, yes. I'm working on my book Grey Eagle Speaks, which will be the cream. Let's say the cream. It's an amazing book. It's a book filled with all of his sayings and all of everything that he does. It's amazing. I'm also thinking about it. I should mention I am going to be doing interviews and all sorts of other things that are coming up around the Christmas time. So again, check the website rosemaryaltea.com for all of the stuff that I'm doing. You put me on the spot there with the book, but hey, I'm a big girl. I can manage to be put on the spot. I'll let you all know when the book comes out. How's that?
That sounds wonderful. And to buy your books, where do people go?
Again, if you go to the website, I think we'll send people to the website and you can see exactly where to go there. Or you can actually, if you want a consultation, if you want a more personal thing, you can go to my email, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com.
That's brilliant. Again, thank you very much. And I shall look forward to our next interview.
Violet, thank you very, very much. I really
You're very
appreciate
welcome.
it. You're a darling. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.